Good day, everyone. Today we're going to have the double integrals. So, in this discussion, we will extend the idea of the definite integrals to double integrals of functions of two or more variables. Um, These ideas are then used to compute volumes, compute the masses, the centroids of more general regions. Um, we also use the double integrals to calculate probabilities when two random variables are involved. And then we will also see that the polar coordinates are useful in computing double integrals over some types of region. In similar way, we will also discuss um, new coordinate system, which is the three-dimensional space. Okay, we do also have the cylindrical coordinates and spherical coordinates that are greatly simplify the computation of multiple integrals, especially the triple integrals, over certain commonly occurring solid regions. Okay, so let's have the when we are discussing or talking about double integrals, let us first review the concept of the definite integrals. Okay, so um, if you can recall, okay, the basic facts concerning the definite integrals of a function of a single variable. Okay, so we have here if the f of x is defined for x greater than or equal to a but lesser than equal to b, we start by dividing the interval, actually a closed interval ab into n subintervals. So you have the x sub I minus 1, x sub I of um, what do you call this one, equal with, okay, which is delta x. You have the b minus a all over n, and we will choose sample points. Okay, and these sample points, so you have the x sub I star, okay, in these sub intervals. So when we form, okay, um, we can actually form the Riemann sum. Okay, so you have here the summation of the f of x. Okay, technically it's f of x sub I star. Okay, delta x from 1 to n. And then we can take the limit of such sums as n approaches to infinity, okay, to obtain the definite integral of the function from a to b. Okay, so you have here the integral, okay, definite integral of the f of x dx from a to b, which is equal to the limit of the summation of the f of x sub I star delta x from 1 to n as n approaches to infinity. So as you can see here in this illustration, okay, we can have what we call this one, the areas under the curve, okay, in the left side of or the right side of this presentation. Okay, so in the special case where the f of x is positive, meaning it is greater than 0, then the Riemann sum, okay, can be interpreted as the sum of the areas of approximating rectangles. Okay, as you can see in this in the illustration. So let me just clarify. Okay, in this illustration. Okay, so this is actually the representation of the definite integral, okay, of f of x dx from a to b. Okay, so this is the area under the curve. Okay, y is equal to f of x from a to b. Okay, so you have the concept of double integral. Okay, so from the presentation on the previous slide, this is actually the double integrals is actually similar. Okay, from the presentation of the previous slide. So um, however, there are differences. Okay, now for example, in this case, you have here, let's try to consider a function f of two variables defined by a closed rectangle. Okay, and this would be our, so this is our rectangle. So the rectangle is actually in the closed interval AB by CD. Okay, so you have here, this is our R. And this R is defined as, you have here the XY, okay, in the uh, plane region. Okay, so you have here SY element of the R squared, meaning you have an area, okay, such as our X is greater than equal to A but lesser than or equal to B, and our Y is greater than equal to C but less than equal to D. Okay, now we first suppose that the function xy is a positive, meaning it's greater than equal to 0. Okay, so the graph of the function is technically the surface of the equation. You have here z is equal to the function xy, this one. So we can let S be the solid that lies above the R, so this one, above the R, and under the graph of the f, or the function. So this one. Okay, so you have now your solid. Okay, now this solid is defined as, you have the um, xyz element on the r cube, meaning you have a solid, okay, such that our z is greater than or equal to 0 but less than equal to the function xy, and the xy is an element of r. Okay, now our goal here is to determine the volume of this solid. Take note that this is our solid. Okay, this one. So this is our solid. Now, the first step, okay, of determining the solid is to divide the rectangle R. So this one, we can divide the rectangle R into subrectangle. Okay, so we have division into subrectangles. So we accomplish this by dividing the interval, okay, AB, so this one, okay, close interval AB, okay, into m subintervals. So just like what we did with the definite integrals. So we are going to divide this one. So we have a closed interval, the width of the width of the intervals, or the m intervals, would be x sub I minus 1 to x sub I. So this would be obtained by dividing the b minus a by m. At the same time, we are also going to make rectangles. So we are going to divide this side, the CD, okay, into n sub-intervals. So in this case, since this is in the y-axis, so you have the width of every rectangles here would be y sub j minus 1 y sub j. And then the width of that rectangle would be obtained by subtracting d and c and then divided by the n. Okay, for illustration, we are so if we are going to illustrate the base of the solid, so this is the base of the solid. Let me just emphasize. So this is the base of the solid. This would be this one. So as you can see here, this side is being divided by several subintervals. So the width of each intervals here, so you have x sub I minus 1 to x sub I. And then here, okay, the y is being subdivided by several subintervals. So again, we can obtain the width of these subintervals by subtracting, okay, the total width divided by the number of subintervals. So you have the delta x, okay, if we have this one, so you have that delta x would be equal to b minus a all over the number of intervals. So let's say that's m. At the same time here, we can determine the width of these interval, the width of these boxes or rectangles by subtracting d and c divided by the number of subintervals. So for example, our subintervals would be n, so you have divided by n. Okay, so in other words, okay, these rectangle, let's say these rectangles or any of the rectangles, this can be represented by this one. So you have the area of this rectangle would be the length, okay, and the product of the length of the width. So you have the close interval x sub I minus 1 x sub I by y sub j minus 1 j sub I, which is equal to, okay, that can be represented again by xy such that our x is greater than or equal to I minus 1 but less than x sub I, and our y would be greater than or equal to y sub j minus 1 but less than or equal to y sub j. Now, take note that the area, okay, the area of the rectangles, okay, each of the rectangles can be represented by uh, delta x times delta y. Okay, so if we are going to choose sample points, let's say this one, okay, so you have, um, let's say that point would be um, x sub uh, ij star y sub ij star, okay, in each of the region, and the region would be r sub ij. Then we can approximate the part of the s that lies above each of the region, the r sub ij. Okay, by a thin rectangles box or the column. So parang ganito siya. Okay. Okay, with the base r sub ij, and the height, okay, okay, would be represented by the function x sub ij star y sub ij star. Okay, so the volume of each, okay, of the box is the height of the box times the area of the base of the rectangle. So if we are going to represent that one by an equation, so parang ganito sa, so you have f of the height, okay, f of x sub ij star y sub ij star times the area of the base. Okay, now, if we will follow this procedure for all of the rectangles and add the volumes of the corresponding boxes, we get the approximation of the total volume of the S. Okay, and that would be this one. So the volume, okay, is approximately equal to the summation, okay, from 1 to m of the summation of the f of x sub ij star y sub ij star times delta A from 1 to m. Okay, so this double sum means that for each of the subrectangles, we evaluate, okay, the function at the chosen point and multiply by the area of the subrectangle, and then we add the results. Okay, so with that, okay, we have this volume. Okay, so the volume, okay, is equal to the limit of the summation of the f of x sub ij star y sub ij star times delta A from 1 to m and from 1 to n, taking that our m and n is approaching to infinity. So this is becomes better, okay, if our m and n becomes larger, meaning we have many subrectangles. Okay, so we can use this expression, okay, to define the volume of the solid S that lies under the graph of the function and above the rectangle R. Okay, so the limit of the type, okay, is technically what we call this one, occurring frequently, not just finding the volume, but in the variety of other situations. Okay, even when the function is not a positive function. Okay, so in other words, we can now define our integral. Define our what we call this one, double integral. So you have here the definition. The double integral of the function over the rectangle R is, you have here the double integral f of xy dA, okay, in a region, it's equal to the limit of the summation from 1 to m of the summation of f of x sub ij star y sub ij star delta A from 1 to n, if this limit exists. Okay, so if you can see, okay, with the equation, okay, if you can see the equation, we can technically, okay, we can technically subtract both sides by this expression. Okay, so that would be the precise meaning of the limit. Okay, meaning that for every number a delta greater than zero, meaning it's a positive, then we can have an integer n such that, okay, so you have this one. So we are just subtracting both sides by this one. And this would be less than the epsilon. Take note that epsilon is greater than zero, meaning it's a positive. Okay, so all integers m and n greater than n, and for any choice of the sample points in the what we call this one, in the R sub ij. Okay, so a function function f uh, is called integrable if the limit, okay, in this definition exists. Okay, so all continuous functions are technically integrable. In fact, the double integral of the function exists provided that the function is not too discontinuous. Okay, so in particular, if the function is bounded, um, meaning that there is a constant m such that the absolute value of the function xy is less than or equal to m for all the xy in the R. Okay, and if the function is continuous, um, except for a finite number of the smooth curve, then the function is integrable over R. Okay, so the sample point, okay, if you can remember, this would be our sample point. So you have the x sub ij star, y sub ij star can be chosen to be any point in the subrectangle R sub ij. But if we if we choose it to be the upper right hand corner of the R sub ij, okay, then the expression of the double integrals would be look simpler, and that would be this one. Okay, so technically, by comparing, okay, the previous definitions of our integral, okay, we can see that the volume of the solid, okay, can be written as a double integral. Okay. So this would be the simplified form of the double integral. So if you have f of xy greater than or equal to 0, then the volume V of the solid that lies above the rectangle R and below the surface Z is equal to f of xy is, so you have the volume of the double integral, okay, of the xy, uh, f of xy dA. Okay, so technically, okay, the definition, okay, of the, what we call this one, the double summation, if you can remember with the double summation, okay, is what we called as double Riemann sum, and it is used as approximation to the value of the double integral. Okay, so if the function happens to be a positive function, then the double integral sum, or double Riemann sum rather, okay, represents the sum of the volumes of the column, and uh, is an approximation to the volume under the graph of the F and above the rectangle R. Okay, so let's have an example. Estimate the volume of the solid that lies above the square R is equal to close interval 0, 2 by 0, 2, close interval 0, 2. And below the elliptic paraboloid, z is equal to 16 minus x squared minus 2y squared. Divide R into 4 equal parts or equal squares and shows the sample points to be the upper right corner of each of the rectangle. Okay, so for illustration, so this would be the base of the solid. So this would be the base of the solid. So our paraboloid, so this would be our paraboloid. So you have z is equal to 16 minus x squared minus 2y squared. Okay, and then, okay, this is the base of the rectangle. So as you can see here, that each of, since in the given instruction that we are going to divide we are going to divide the base into four equal parts, and then so we can now choose any of the upper right. Okay, so in this case, our upper right would be the intersection, okay, of the what we call this one, the rectangle and the paraboloid. Okay, elliptic paraboloid. Okay, so in this case, for our solution, okay, the paraboloid is the graph of, okay, so you have f of x, xy rather. Okay, so we can, this one can be written as, you have f, okay, of xy, which is equal to 16 minus x squared minus 2y squared. Okay, so um, approximating the volume by Riemann sum with our m is equal to our n, which is equal to 2. Okay, so we can have from the formula that we had in the previous slide, you have the volume, okay, is approximately equal to the summation, okay, I is equal to 1 to 2 times the summation of j is equal to 1 to 2 of the f of x sub I, y sub j rather, delta A. Okay, so in other words, you could have, since you have the function here, function x sub I, y sub j, so we can now, what we call this one, substitute, okay, the functions, okay, that the points. Take note that our points, okay, this is our point. So you have 1, 1, you have 1, 2, you have 2, 1, and you have 2, 2. So in other words, you could have f of 1, 1 delta A plus f of, you have 1, 2 delta A plus um, f of 2, 1 delta A plus the f of 2, 2 delta A. So substituting to our function, okay, so 1, 1 substituted here. So you have 16 minus 1 squared minus 2 times 1 squared, that's equal to 13. And then the area of the rectangle, okay, the area of this rectangle is equal to 1. Plus the same concept, we are going to substitute 1, 2 to the function. So you have 16 minus 1 minus 2 times 4. So that's equal to 7 times 1 plus same concept. So you have 10 times 1 plus 4 times 1. So using the calculator, so you have 13 plus 7 plus 10 plus 4. That's equal to 34. So in other words, the volume, the volume of the approximating rectangular boxes is equal to 34 cubic unit. Okay. So in other words, if you can see, if there are we only have four rectangles, but to determine the volume under the parabolic, the elliptic paraboloid, and above the rectangles would be what we call this one, dependent on the number of rectangles that you are creating. Okay, so in other words, if you have many rectangles, then you can have a better approximation of the volume under the paraboloid and above the R. Okay, let's have another example. Okay, if R is equal to, you have the set xy such that x is greater than equal to -1, but less than or equal to 1, and y is greater than equal to -2, but greater than equal to 2. Evaluate the integral. Okay, so you have the double integral of the square root of 1 minus x squared dA. Okay, now, as you can see here, it seems to be difficult to evaluate this integral from the previous discussion that we had. However, we know here that you have, since this is take note volume, so we can say that the square root of 1 minus x squared is greater than or equal to 0 because it's a volume, so there is no negative volume. We can now compute the integral by interpreting this one, as a volume. So if our z is equal to the square root of 1 minus x squared, we can what do you call this one? We can square both sides. So you have z squared is equal to 1 minus x squared, meaning that you have z squared plus x squared is equal to 0. Okay, so in other words, we can now say that our z here must be greater than or equal to 0 because x squared plus z squared plus x squared is equal to 0. Therefore, our z must be greater than or equal to 0. So, the given integral represents a volume of the solid. That lies below the circular cylinder. Why it is a cylinder? Because you have x squared plus y, not x squared, z squared plus x squared. And this would be what we call this one. Since you have here, um, why I did this one as equal, uh, let me correct, this is not equal to 0, it should be 1. This is one. Okay, so we have here a circle, okay? So above the y-axis, because z squared plus y squared is equal to 1. So it's above the y-axis. So in other words, and then since we have here the square root of 1 minus x squared, meaning that we only taking the positive side, so half of the cylinder. Why we have cylinder? Because we have from these restrictions that our x must be greater than or equal to -1 but less than 1, less than or equal to 1, and y is greater than or equal to -2. May I correct this one? This should be -2. Okay. But less than or equal to 2. So in other words, if we are going to somehow illustrate this one, if you have here, what we call this one, um, let's say this is our x-axis, and this is our x, and then this would be our y-axis, okay, y, okay, and then this would be our z-axis, okay. So meaning that our y is from -2 to +2. So meaning, let's say this is our -2, and then this is our +2. And our x must be from, let's say you have 1 to -1. That is 1, and you have -1. Okay, and then we have here z is equal to uh, 1 minus x squared, meaning you have here somehow something like this. Okay, so you have now your cylinder. So in other words, to solve this one, okay, for our solution, so you have the double integral, okay, is equal to the square root of 1 minus x squared dA. That would be equal to, since we have a half of a cylinder, so in other words, you have 1/2, okay, times pi, and then the radius is 1, so you have 1 squared times 4. In other words, you have 1 times 4 times 1 times pi times 1/2, so you have 2 pi. So in other words, the area under of that cylinder is equal to uh, 2 pi. Okay. So as you can see here, okay, this is a midpoint. So midpoint is uh, what you call this one. You have already discussed the midpoint on the single integrals. Okay, for approximating. Okay, integral. So technically, it's not just the midpoint. So we have the trapezoidal rule, okay, and the like. Okay, so this has counterparts, okay, in the double integral. However, we are just going to consider only the midpoint rule, okay, for double integrals. Okay, so this means that we are going to use the double Riemann sum to approximate the double integral, where the sample point, so you have x sub ij star, y sub ij star, in the r I sub j, okay, is chosen to be the center, okay, of what you call this one, the midpoint. Okay, so you have here, so this is technically the midpoint rule of the double integral. So you have the double integral of the f of x y dA is approximately equal to the summation from 1 to m of the summation of um, the f of the midpoint xy times the delta a from 1 to n, where the x sub I bar is the midpoint, okay, of the uh, interval x sub I minus 1 x sub I, and the y sub j bar is the midpoint of the closed interval y sub j minus 1 y sub j. Okay, so let's have an example. Use the midpoint rule with m is equal to n is equal to 2 to estimate the value of the integral, double integral rather, the quantity x minus 3y squared dA, okay, where r is equal to the set xy such that x is greater than equal to 0 but less than 2, and y is greater than equal to 1 but less than or equal to 2. Okay, so since it is clearly stated here that we are going to, what we call this one, use the midpoint, okay, and we have here that our m and our n is equal to 2, meaning you have the, what we call this one, 2 by 2. Okay, so we have to divide the base of the rectangle into 4 parts. Okay, now take note that we have given here that our x should be greater than, okay, x is greater than equal to 0 but less than or equal to 2, and our y would be greater than equal to 1 but less than 2. So meaning, if we are going to locate that one in our Cartesian plane, okay, so if you have 1, 2, and then you have 1, 2. X should be from 0 to 2. So here. And then the y is 1 to 2. So this would be our, and then since m and n is equal to 2, meaning we have to divide this one by 4 equal parts. Now take note, this is 1, this is 2, meaning this is 3 halves. Okay, and then midpoint, meaning this would be our midpoint, so that would be our r sub 1, 1. This would be r 2, 1. This is r 2, 2. And this is r 1, 2. Okay, so in other words, our function fx is equal to x minus 3y squared. Okay, and then the centers of the 4 subrectangles, okay, is this one. So you have this, what to call this one. In other words, our first subpoint, okay, you have 1/2. This is equal to 1/2. Our second, you have 3 halves. 3 halves. Then your y, you have 5/4, and then y sub the second midpoint is you have 7/4. Okay, and then the area of the subrectangle is equal to, so the area of this rectangle, just for clarification, the area of this rectangle is equal to um, 1/2. Okay, so in other words, okay, sa double integral of x minus 3y squared dA is approximately equal to the summation from I equal to 1 to 2 times the summation from j is equal to 1 to 2 of the f of our midpoints times it should be delta. Okay, meaning you have the um, f of delta A plus the f of delta A plus the third one, mm, not the third, let me correct first. Uh, you can have one here, one, and then this would be two, two, one, plus two, two, delta A. Okay, and then substitute, okay, uh, x sub 1, the midpoint of the x is 1/2, and then 5/4. Substitute this one to our, what we call this one in our function. This would be our function. Take note, you have uh, x sub 1 bar, y sub 1 bar. So here, meaning this would be replaced by 1/2 and y is replaced by 5/4. Okay, so you have using calculator, so you have how much? Um, negative 67 over 16. Negative 16 over, 67 rather. 67 over 16 times 1/2 plus you have um, the same process. So you have negative 139 over 16 times 1/2 plus you have negative 51 over 16 times 1/2 plus you have negative 123 over 16 times 1/2, and then add all of those. Okay, so you have equal to negative 95 over 8. And this is now the okay volume of the uh, you have the double integral of x minus 3y squared dA. Okay, okay. Properties, okay, of the double integral. So here we have three properties of double integrals that can be, of course, proved in a manner uh, in the what you call this one on your previous calculus. Okay, so we assume that all of the integrals exist. So here we have the double integral, the sum of the two functions. So you have the double integral of f of xy plus g of xy dA, okay, is equal to the double integral of f of xy dA plus the double integral of g of xy dA. The second one, you have a constant. So the double integral times c, the constant of f of xy dA. So we can what we call this one, we can exclude, okay, the constant and make that one as a factor. So you have c times the double integral of the f of xy dA. And then another, if the f of xy is greater than or equal to the g of xy for all xy in R, then the double integral, okay, of the f of xy dA is greater than or equal to the double integral of g of xy dA. Okay, so what call this one? Um, Suppose that f is a function of two variables that is integrable on the rectangle on uh, variable on the integrable on the rectangle R is equal to the closed interval AB by CD, closed interval CD. We use the notion, the integral, okay, of different integral of f of x y dy from C to D, okay, to mean that x is held fixed, okay, and f of xy is integrated with respect to y from y is equal to c to y is equal to d. Okay, so technically, if we can still recall, okay, this sentence is actually the procedure, okay, called the partial integration with respect to y. Now, you have the definite integral f of x y dy from c to d is uh, the number that depends on the value of x. So it defines the function of x as, okay, so you have here uh, a of x is equal to the definite integral of f of x y dy from c to d. Now, um, if we integrate the function a with respect to x from a to b, we get this one. So you have the dependent integral of a of x dx from a to b, which is equal to the uh, definite integral from a to b of the definite integral of f of xy dy from c to d dx. Now, the integral, okay, of this equation is called um, iterated integral. Okay. Usually, the bracket is omitted. So something like this. So this is the definite integral, the iterated integral. So you have the integral, different integral from a to b to different integral of f of x, f of xy dy dx from c to d is just taking into getting the definite integral of the inner term. So you have the definite integral of uh, f of xy dy from c to d. Then you have to integrate it, okay, from a to b. So this means that we first integrate with respect to y from c to d, and then with respect to x from a to b. So in other words, this can be written as this one. Okay. In As you can see, we can also iterate the integral this manner. Hmm. We can start with the dx, then you have the dy. Okay. We have to evaluate, okay, the f of evaluate the integral of from 0 to 3 to the integral of x squared y dy dx from 1 to 2. Okay. So here, what we are going to do is we are, okay, integrating. Um, First, we are going to, for our solution, okay, we first take x as constant. So you have the um, integral, okay, definite integral of uh, x squared y dy from 1 to 2. Okay, so you have um, taking x squared as constant, so x squared, and then the integrate y, so you have y squared over 2. And then, okay, get the difference from 1 to 2. So you have x squared times 2 squared over 2 minus x squared. You have 1 squared over 2. So that would be equal to, you have 4 over 2, 1 over 2, that's 3 halves. So 3 halves x squared. So this function, okay, in the this one, uh, 3 halves x squared, okay, can be integrated again to the function x from 0 to 3. So you have now the integral from 0 to 3 of 1 to x squared x squared y dy dx is equal to the integral from 0 to 3 of the integral of 1 to x squared y dy dx, which is, okay, you have the integral from 0 to 3 of 3 halves x squared dx, which would be equal to, you have um, x cubed, x cubed over 2. Okay, and then from 0 to 3. So that would be equal to, you have 3 3 cube over 2. So that would be 27 over 2. And that would be our answer. Okay, as what we presented, okay, on the previous slide, okay, we can actually, what do you call this one? Reverse, not the reverse. Here, we first integrate the y. But from the previous example, from the previous slide, we can actually also start with our, what to call this one, our x. So for example, so you have here, as you can see, this is just somehow, okay, the same, but the integration is, the inner part is, what to call this one, reverse from the previous example. So here, as you can see here for our solution, so the integral from 1 to 2 of the integral from 0 to 3 of the x squared y dx dy would be equal to the integral of 1 to, of, you have 0 3 x squared y dx dy. So you have the integral from 1 to, and then you have here, uh, x cubed over 3y. Okay, from 0 to 3 dy. And then that would be the integral from 1 to 2. You have 9y. So you have 9y. 9y dy. Okay. And then we can now integrate. So you have 9 y squared over 2 from 1 to 2. So that would be equal to, you have, 4 over 2, that's 2, times 9. So you have 9 times, 4 over 2. That's 2 minus 9 times 1 half. 1 half. So that becomes 18 minus 4.5. So that is 27 over 2. So as you can see, it's just the same from the previous uh, example. Okay, so that's it for our discussion on the double integral. Thank you very much.